I'm Carles. I'm the founder of Kokoro Kids, and I'm going to tell a little bit about our experience designing an inclusive application for children. Okay, so first thing, a little bit about me. I'm a game developer. I have been developing games for 25 years, and I have done, I think, that more than 70 different games. My background is technical. I studied computer science, and I have been a programmer. But the last few years, I don't code anymore, and I'm in the management part. I'm also a founder and a serial entrepreneur. I have founded different companies. My biggest success was a company called Akamon that grew a lot, and we sold in 2015. What drove me to create Kokoro Kids was that I had a first kid that's called Alex, and when I was trying to, when he was like 3 or 4 years old, to start playing games, I found that there was like 2 types of games. It was the games that are fun, but they don't have educational content, and the games that were educational, but they were not as fun as the other ones. So I think that games are a powerful way to learn, and I think that it could be games that are educational and are fun also. So it was the leitmotif that for what we create Kokoro. What's Kokoro Kids? Kokoro Kids is an application for kids. It's the target age is from 2 to 7 years old, more or less. And the objective is that they learn cognitive and emotional skills. Okay, we have, I think, that more than 250 games, and they have like different categories: memory, logic, maths, language, lot of different skills. So the games are designed with psychologists. They design the games, and we develop. So I want to show a video so you understand better how is the product. Okay.
Kokoro Kids is an educational app for emotional intelligence and cognitive skills. With more than 150 activities designed by an expert in neurodevelopment, little ones work on memory, attention, emotional intelligence, and much more. Kokoro is a safe, ad-free place where you can keep track of your child's progress. And all of this is living great adventures, where the little ones learn values such as empathy, solidarity, or ecological awareness. Help your little ones unleash their full potential. Download it now and let the adventure begin.
Okay, so that's what we do. And okay. And a very important thing that happened to us last year is that we were selected by the Lego Foundation. They have a program that was called Play for All, and the objective was that looking for products that could help kids with special needs like autism or THDH to improve their life and improve their learnings. So there was a big competition, but we were one of the 5 selected companies. So for us, it was very important because we received funding from the Lego Foundation and helped us to think about things like inclusivity. So as a company, it's very difficult sometimes you are always thinking about profit or things like that. But having a partner like Lego Foundation help us to do things that normally we couldn't do. The first thing is that in that moment, I didn't know anything about inclusivity, about autism, for us it was like a big step that we have to do. So what have we learned in this year? Our method was to listen and learn a lot in the first phase, understanding what we can do to help that community, iterate with the learnings and co-create with them, and measure the impact of what we do. So what we do is to speak a lot with our users. Our users are kids, so we go to some schools, some places to meet the kids, let them play, and listen what were their thoughts. We have sessions with kids with neurodivergent, and had also interviews with parents and with teachers. So with all that information, we go to office and think, okay, we understand better what we can do. We also have select a group of kids that we call the Kokoro ambassadors. That's for kids, because we need constant feedback. Because the focus group are just have the conversation with kids, but you want to test things every month. So we need like a group of kids that could help us with the feedback. And I want to say what we learned in all that process. The first thing that we learned is that at first the managers went to the Lego Foundation trainings, and things like we do today, we start to listen. But it was very difficult for us to transmit all the learnings to the team. It was very difficult. The first few months, it was for us very difficult to all that we learn, go to the team and explain that. So we needed to all the team is thinks in the same way that we are. So we started to bring information to all the team. It's very important if you want to achieve that inclusivity. The second one that we understand is that the games has to adapt to the kids, to the problems. Not the kid has to adapt to the application. So it's one important thing. And for us, our biggest barrier was the age. So when we create Kokoro, the first thing we ask for the kid is what's your age, and we assume a lot of things if you select 4 years old. We assume that you have to know that things, or if you are 6 years old, you have that level. Okay, so now we understand that we have to base the level in the skill, not in the age. Okay. Here we have some example of accessibility. We understand that we have to have different channels of information, visual, audio, and text. We can see 2 different examples of how the same game look after first and after that. Another example was making features like accessibility. One of them was stimulus removal, because kids with autism or games has a lot of animation, a lot of things that can distract the games, and autism kids needs to like more calm games. Also, we added the time limit functionality, where when the parent gives the mobile to the kid, for example, he wants that he plays 10 minutes, and when the time arrives, the app stops, and it's easier for the parent because it has not to remove the mobile to the kid. It's more relaxed. Okay, the time. we also added cooperative games because the games doesn't have to be individual. Okay. Okay. And we also added like social interaction. When you draw a house, you can see what other kids draw, and you can learn. If you see a drawing that you like, you can draw and the next time do it like that. And I think that's one some metrics. In the last year we grow like 200 3 times the users, but we know that the neurobased community grow a lot. So I think that the message we do to the parents with neurobased helps us to grow. And yeah, I think that the time is more or less over. So if you have any questions, yeah.
Are your application of free for download?
Yeah, it's free download, but yes, you have like a premium account. It's a subscription model. Yeah.
What do you think about the comparison feature that you added? Especially because I really like the point that you made about not focusing on the age and on the skill, so then the kids have the safe space to explore, but then if they can compare with other...
No, they can compare. The games are adaptive. You have like levels, and if you complete one level, you can back to the other level, and it's every step more difficult. But it's not based on age. It's based on what you accomplish in the game.
Yeah, but the example with the house that you showed, the social aspect.
Yes.
Is that something that they can choose if they want to see other drawings, or is
No, it's by default. You are asked to draw an object. You draw it, and when you finish, you see other kids drawing, and maybe you like one, maybe you like the other one, and the next time maybe you I like that type of drawing. I'm gonna try. It's like fostering creativity, but just in a cooperative way.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going to talk about video games and aesthetics in arts education because it's what my area of research. So I'm going to take the keyword here. So some data about me. I'm a PhD in the Universidad of Valencia, and I'm researching about arts education, visual culture, video games, and aesthetics. But also, and I think it's more important than the research, I try to teach and create spaces of dialogue about digital fiction in some schools, mostly in underprivileged schools, because for what we talked before, I think that my work background, and my education put me here and focus on the underprivileged schools with a strong contact of ethnicities. So I think this is really, really important, and I'm working with an cultural association called Punta de Llança. And my thesis directors were Ricardo Huerta here from the University of Valencia and Ruth, that is accompanying me today. And yeah, that's some data about me. So I'm going to straight to the point because I have few minutes, so quickly. We know some general video game approaches, so we have gamification, we have game-based learning, but there's very, very low research about aesthetics or multimodality. So we know a lot about using video games through or using video games for learning something or sort of contents, but we don't use to research video games about an object itself of study in schools. So it's not this. What I'm researching is not about using video games for, but teaching and studying video games itself and its aesthetics. So this is here we have a debate on what is an aesthetic of a video game. It's like the visual part, it's graphics, it's agency, it's the concept art. So it's everything of it, but the agency is the key aspect on the core of the video game. So the agency that we have as a players in video games is what makes the medium of video games special. So, knowing this, what are we doing with all this knowledge? So, what I do with this knowledge that I'm researching for my doctoral thesis is to put it in practice in these underprivileged schools that I told you about. And I create these spaces to grant accessibility for these people that has underprivileged mediums to video games that are references of quality. So I call this cultural mediation, because if we don't teach this cultural mediation with the younger students, it's the industry, as the worst sense of the word, is the industry and the mercadotecnia and all these market video games with AAA, blockbusters, and etc., which are educating the students if we don't do nothing. So here I'm going to put some photos of what we do. So we have some sessions like we put it in circle and we talk about their misconceptions about video games, because mostly of them only knows one way to play. They only know free games from Play Store at very low quality, or maybe they think that the video games are too expensive because they think they have to buy some PS5, one Xbox Series X, that we all love it to have one, but there's also another ways to play. There are developer studios like Amanita Design that has a lot of video games for €2, and they are very, very quality video games. So returning to the sessions, we have some sessions about talking, their misconceptions, their expectations about these workshops, and we have another sessions to play video games. And this is kind of a game-based learning, because they are learning about video games by playing video games. Because we most of the times forget this thing. There are no teachers of language or didactic languages that doesn't read. And it can be some teachers about video games that didn't play video games in their lives. So if we teach about video games, we have to play video games, because we have to establish some rules about, okay, we are going to play this, we are going to play that, we are going to talk about puzzles, we are going to talk about difficulty. Is more difficult something that is difficult technically, or is more difficulty something that it has to be interpreted? So that's what we talk about in these sessions. As you see, for example, here we are playing Townscaper. I don't know if you know the game, but around this game you have one endless sea, and if you touch the screen, you put a house. And we here talk about community. It's a game that talks about community, because, for example, if you make a circle of houses, a garden appears. Then maybe some clothes are appearing, so there's life there. They are making the community, and this is something that in underprivileged schools don't know, or maybe these circles of community, they are not built specifically, and they are reflecting their community here in these video games. So we also guide them if they have difficulties. This is like a reading session. If they don't understand something, or if they have difficulties with the text that they are reading, we help them by guiding them through the game, asking them what they think that it's going to be the end of the game or something, and we let them to occupy the space, to think that the classrooms are not only tables and chairs, but they can be in the floor, in the corridor, or whatever they want. We played also Gorogoa, because this is something that they didn't know. For example, they talk about graphics, because graphics is hyperrealism graphics, but when they see something that is drawn by hand, like Gorogoa, this puzzle game, they were like very, very strange that these are graphics, this is made by hand, this is digital. There is a combination of things that they didn't know, and they are discovering something new. And this is, in some sense, useful for them, because they are knowing another things of the medium of video games. They are discovering another ways to play that the ones that are hegemonically from the market and the blockbuster market. So I think this is also accessibility, because we talk about accessibility in physical terms most of the time, but there's an accessibility, intellectual accessibility. They have to be the resources and the guidance for knowing more ways to play. And I think this is another kind of accessibility. So if we don't start to educate in these terms, the market is going to do it for ourselves. So we have to put it in the classroom. We have to go to the schools and start doing this cultural mediation between the students, the younger students, and the medium of video games. So that's all. So you have some questions? Okay, I was clear then.
Actually, I have a question. Can you sort of double click on what intellectual accessibility means to you in the context of your work?
Yeah. For example, as I said, in underprivileged schools, they have the equipment, they have the devices, because there are funds for public schools to have the devices, but the teachers don't know what to do with them. So they need someone that establish a guidance for that intellectual accessibility, them to discover new things about video games, and not only about the free games that are in Play Store or App Store or these things that they are very low quality. And we try to make more accessible games to them, but games with authors and artists behind them, not only video games that are like market studies for what is successful, what's not successful, and they try with all these dark patterns that they tend you to download free the game, but then pay for skins or this like of dynamics that they are not too clear.
Yeah, thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank you, the organizer, for giving us this opportunity to talk about our work here. And what we will talk about is two projects that I will present. I'm in charge for this Knowledge Game Association for Digital Education and Play, and we did this project We Are for Education, and also I'm working, as I said, in the Croatian Health Insurance Fund, and this organization is partner for project Artificial Intelligence for Health. So I will talk about those two projects. And my colleague Lidija Mandić, she's working at the University of Zagreb, Faculty of Graphic Arts, and she will present education for games, and this will all be for EU FairPlay, because I wanted to put 4 fours here on this slide. Yes. And what we did here, and who participating, the official name of this project is Learning Through Games, and it ended at the beginning of this year. So 4 non-for-profit associations participated in this project. It is a knowledge game, the Association for Digital Education and Play, then MIPRO, Association for ICT, Electrotechnics and Microelectronics, and then A3, Adriatic Aerospace Association, and the Association for Technical Culture. This was a Croatian project, and 3 faculties also participated. The Faculty of Electronics in Osijek, Algebra, and the Faculty of Graphic Arts. So what we did, we produced one educational game, Earth Rising. For this game is used for assembling the small satellites. So you can print the satellite parts, and then you can assemble a small satellite and launch it in orbit, and then explore other planets. And the idea was to offer a kind of informal education for as much children there, because it is really when you produce a game, then then everyone can participate in such education. This is the idea behind it. But that was the motivation. But what we needed to do is to educate the educators there. So that's the reason why we organize those 4 workshops here. And you can see the topics of these workshops were very interesting. We had lots of participants there, and hopefully we educate them to produce more such games than in this project. But also what we would like to have with this game is to cooperate with others, because this is the open source game, and we would like to produce additional different kind of tutorials and some different now we see that this is our first game, and now we see what is missing, what is not right, and we would like to change it in our future work. Also, I'm doing my PhD connected with this game. Also in the project we kind of design 2 game rooms at Algebra and at Frederic faculties. And we did this game portal, Earthrising game portal, when there is also some explanations about the game, and it's in English too. But we are seeing that it is not really in use, so we are wondering how to market it, how to do more marketing about it, and how to enroll more children to use it, because it's not really their environment, and we are wondering how to make it better. Where are the area for future and further cooperation? We are seeing here that we would like to be a partner for some new EU project, and also we would like to do more knowledge and skills development for our members of Knowledge Game, and also we are involved in innovation management, and this is the area where we would like to cooperate with some of you here. Yeah. The second project that I would like to talk about is artificial intelligence for health, and you can see here that many stakeholders are participating in this project. They are coming from the public sector, from the healthcare, from research, from business, IT sector, and non-for-profit also. What is the goal here? Is to design a data space where some students can play with real data in health, and to do some products and some future products and services in using artificial intelligence. And now we are organizing one challenge for students, and they are doing this research how to reduce the rehospitalization after a heart attack, because the one here of the partners, Magdalena, is a hospital for heart problems. So this is the work here, but the idea behind the project is to boosting European artificial intelligence small and medium enterprises, and to provide them with the services that they can do some work in the area of data, health products and services in the future. They would like to cooperate with you in the area of knowledge and skills development, and the area of innovation ecosystem and networking. Because I'm here to do some networking with you, presenting this project, and to see where will be our future cooperation. Yeah, if you have any questions for me, that will be the end of my part, and then Lidija will continue.
Hello, my name is Lidija Mandić. I work as professor at University of Zagreb Faculty of Graphic Arts, and our research is in the area of design and user experience, virtual reality, extended reality, card games, video games, because games involved in our lives more and more. And we have good things about our faculty. University of Zagreb is big university. We have 43 faculties and 3 academia. And before we are not so connected between us. And now we are more and more connected, and we have horizontal mobility. So my students, I send them to Faculty of Electronic and Computing because they need us as nice, artistic part of their video games, and we need them as developers. We finished one project with China. It is an application of augmented reality for museums. Chinese made hardware and we made software, content and user experience. So I don't put the slide about, but 10 years ago, 4 faculties, Faculty of Electronic and Computer, Faculty of Graphic Arts, psychiatrist and educational logopedic trainings, started one project, and we developed several games for children with special needs, but that games could play any children between us. It is safe to download, free to download, and so we started to work for inclusive people. In our organization was Mary Association Autist Down Syndrome. So the only problem is when a project is stopped, who will fund it? So we need to apply for another project to deserve now, but changes what is going on. It's finished project, Edu for Games. It was 5 institutes involved in there, with the aim to organize a new master study only for video games, and they will develop visual game designer, visual artist, producer and developer. They hope it will be started next academic years. We will see, because you know bureaucracy is never-ending story. Maybe we will be too late for this. I hope no. So there were open space for research together, common research in different areas, because through several projects we make partners with several faculties and several associations. Okay. Any question? I did it short. Yeah.
I have a question to you. So would like to know, you thought that you make training with teachers regarding VR?
Yes. Yes.
What is, from perspective of teachers, the main obstacle using VR in the classroom? Is that something what you see there's a...
Well, it's the communication part is the most difficult barrier. I mean, the barrier that is most difficult to overcome, because when you have a child with a VR set on, then you can't communicate with the kid. And this is the problem because you need to assist the kid there, and there is no possibility that you see what the child is seeing. And so the tutorial needs to be self-expressed. When you put the VR set on the children, it needs to be really guideful for them. And then we come to the part where there is a children that played it before. So if it is too simple, then it's boring for them. And for the children that never played it, you need some extra instructions how to use the VR set. And that is what we are now trying to design to be, when you press the button for those that never experience it, then it's explained the how to use it. But for those that experienced it before, you just go and play the game. And we never come to the point that you can use it in the classroom, because there is lots of bias towards video games. And plus, what we design here is not a formal education. This is not a part of a curriculum how to assemble the satellite. So you can't use it in a formal education because it is not covering any subject that is there in our formal curriculum. That is also one of the problems. Yeah, but we never thought about how to teach them about the satellites. We just wanted to motivate the children to enroll the STM, EM faculties or high schools, because there is less and less children going into those types of education. It is difficult. It is not something that that many of them want. And to do this, to such game, we are thinking that this will be ideal to motivate them to enroll such faculties. And plus, there is less and less women going into such faculties in the coming year. And that we are seeing, as a country, we are seeing that as a problem.
Hi everyone, and thank you again for the organizers to invite me here. It's also my first time meeting the network and seeing you all. So I'm maybe coming at it from a slightly different angle. So I'm based at Aarhus University, and I have two roles. I'm both the head of innovation and entrepreneurship at the Faculty of Natural Sciences and Tech Sciences. My aim is to kind of embed entrepreneurship programs in the science faculty, and I use a lot of gamification in that process. And then on the other, I also have a game designer hat. I have a small game studio that kind of also creates these games because we needed a place to kind of create them. So this is basically, I'll talk a little bit about some of the tools that I've been working with, and also maybe share for this audience here how actually I've also been looking at it. I think without even realizing it, but actually being very conscious of the fact that these games have to be very inclusive. And there's a different type of inclusivity that I also want to talk about. But in general, I've also looked at another thing that I think is very important, is that we all talk about diversity, of course, and I say, okay, cultural diversity is one thing, and I try and ensure that all the game characters we choose are culturally diverse. I use mostly physical games, so board games, card games. That's my preferred medium, but that's not to say that I don't also engage with digital games as well. I do that as well. The other thing I really like to highlight is that there should be a diversity of games and gamification in the classrooms, and then also the diversity of the experience itself, so the different experiences that they can experience. And usually I always ask these type of questions: is a game appropriate for the context that we are planning for? Should it be a single session or multiple plays? Reflection has to be embedded, it's essential. And of course, post-game debriefs, I think, are always important if you want an educational game to kind of really break down the learning. So this was the first game we started, and the history about this was also interesting. It is a board game designed for entrepreneurship education. Essentially what I did was my entire course of a semester, I actually condensed it into a 3-hour simulation, so that students would get a feel of what is the entrepreneurship process, how it is to think like an entrepreneur, and whether it's a potential career pathway for them, for example. Interestingly, my problem also came with a lot of students who are actually unhappy about entrepreneurship or are unaware about the potential it offers. And especially science and engineering students will struggle more than, let's say, business students, because usually entrepreneurship has always been embedded in the business faculty and not that much in the natural science faculty. So we started working with this, and of course I put a lot of focus on uncertainty, and this is the kind of thing I did. Usually the game works, I call it as a collaboration simulator in an RPG format with conditions of uncertainty and market competition, which is basically other teams and the board that you're competing against. But essentially what you do is you work together in teams and then you will play with other teams, you're competing with other teams. So that's kind of the structure. And the process is kind of simpler. The board game is also designed with instructional uncertainty to start with. So you just basically throw the game at the students and say, figure it out. And basically the game is actually structured enough. There are rules because you can't play a game without rules, but I don't have to tell them up front. The students have to kind of discover the rules as they play. And then they role play characters. They will choose their own area of interest. They define it. They also find they define their own problem and also come up with solutions for it. So it's a structured process, but they actually end up coming up with an idea by the end of the game, and then they have to actually pitch and judge their ideas among themselves. So peer-to-peer pitching as well. And then they get awarded an uncertainty score, and that's usually the end. And this is kind of some pictures of how it looks like in a classroom setting and how you would sort of see these pitch teams. And I think usually what I've done is, of course, this is what happens, like what I call where the magic happens is essentially there's a lot of in-game identity building happening with a lot of these game characters that they have to role play. Then there's a consensus building step where they are kind of entering into mission mode, like identifying a mission they want to do. Then there's competition pressure, which forces them into strategic sort of mode. And this is where I think play changes to game, and these are two sort of different formats. And then there's time pressure that the game provides. There's other uncertainties that the game has. There's random events. There's dice that you can't control. And all of this actually results in loss of control of your decisions and the outcome of your decisions, which means that they start losing the role playing that they're doing, which is actually intentional in this case, because I want them to kind of reveal their own personalities and the way they think. But if I tell them to do that from the start, they will be too guarded. So this kind of removes the guard and then allows them to kind of reveal their personalities a little bit. And then sort of teams get these are reflections from students, like they get a sense of which personalities the team members have and how they would react with each other. So how they handle stressful and uncertain situations. So this is essentially what happens. And then you have a post-game reflection and a post-game debrief. So I won't go into detail here, but there's lots of uncertainty that we simulate through personality, team structure, random events. There's dice, there's path dependency, discussions and disagreements, competition, peer pressure, risk profile, time pressure. So there's really very different levels of uncertainty that's coming in. But the one thing that I really wanted to highlight was this kind of diversity that we kind of looked at. So as you will see, this was our intentional choice. We had a very gender balanced sort of character choice to start with. We said that we needed to have, especially because entrepreneurship also suffers from having female role models. So we actually ensured that we had some very good female role models as well in the game cards, because students would kind of take these cards and have some sort of characters that they needed to role play. But what was interesting is the process itself, and I think I should actually tell you, I hadn't planned this, but I think listening to some of the other talks, I think it's important to just share the story. When designing this, we actually, I didn't just tell an artist, just make us some diverse characters. What we did was we got some sketches, and then I went with those sketches because I really wanted to ensure that the game is relatable to as many people as possible. So with these sketches, I used to go to airports and train stations, captive audience, and basically ask people, show them a character drawing and ask them, where do you think this person is from? Where are they coming? If they saw that same person, for example, like this person here, his name is Errico, we just gave him a name, and if I got at least 3 or 4 different hits from the people saying, I think he's from Mexico, I think he's from Chile, or I think he's from India, as soon as I get that means that's the type of character I want to keep. And that's how we actually refined sort of our work to the artist, so we could give feedback to the artist that this is what we want. And it took us time, but I think it really paid off, because what's happened is that when I see this being played, I mean, there are only 10 characters in the game, and that's a game limitation. I can't have more than 10, and that's intentional for the design of the game mechanic. But the diversity has been good enough for these characters that a lot of people can relate to it. And now this game is being used in over, I think at the moment it's being used in over around 50 plus countries, as far as I know. So, but yeah. So that's exactly what I'm doing, and of course there's this thing about, you know, what's the use of a simulation, and students also always sometimes question, and I also say, well, simulation is what you learn, and then you of course have to practice is what we call emulation and see best practice, which is also important. And then you'd also get feedback about these things, like, you know, where students would say this was just a game, or it feels like getting a doll instead of a real child. You cannot force entrepreneurship on us. And so, you know, and I used to say, well, surgeons also practice on dolls. So, you know, so you have to kind of break this down for students. So, and then of course at the end, when you see reflections like this is what I feel that I'm happy about, is that, okay, since the game, completing the game, you have changed your view, that it is actually, you know, something that it's entrepreneurship is a fantastic tool for working with things that interest you, for building networks, exploring your strengths and weaknesses, and finding resilience. And I think this is stuff that we are very happy as teachers to develop this identity in students. And again, this is a biology student who's now working for a travel company, which also shows that they have broadened their sort of career pathway and saying, okay, we can actually do something else and not just biology. So that was also the thing. Apart from that, so building on that, we have also just done some other stuff. Some junior faculty members reached out to me and said, could you do something? We are not interested in entrepreneurship. So I asked them, what are you interested in? And they said, well, we are more interested in either tenure track positions, permanent positions, or grants funding. And I said, well, tenure track I can't help you with grant funding, maybe I can. So we created this research grant game. This is actually designed for faculty members, and it's for faculty members to, especially interdisciplinary faculty members, to basically play. We basically modeled it after the same structure of the eShip game, which is very tested quite well, and we released this last year. But we've also added some new stuff, like a digital app to document stuff that's not in the original eShip game. And this has basically helped people to come up with research grants together. So we also have a game, a digital game that was developed during COVID with some funding from EIT Food. And of course, University of Warsaw and Aarhus University as the main partners, and a digital game developer from Holland who worked with us. And this serious game is actually to teach you about patents. And if I should summarize this game for you, it's I think I found out that a lot of students do not read patents. They think patents are boring, and they are boring to read. So what we did is, can we make this interesting? So what we did is we put it in an escape room format. It's a digital escape room. And what we have done is, if I should really summarize it, it's essentially, I think, yes, you need a lawyer to write a patent for you, but you don't need a lawyer to read one. So that's kind of the logic behind, so that the game kind of breaks down that reading, the structure that you kind of need. And I think if you like this format, this idea could potentially be applied to other things, like teaching someone how to read a journal article, for example. This is just a game experience. I won't go into detail, but this is what we do. You don't really see players in, you just enter as voices inside the main head of Leonardo da Vinci, who's traveled in time ahead and landed in a modern but defunct patent office. So that's the kind of the story. So we have a process gamification, which is on SavvyGoat, which is basically gamifying an entire process of a journey and actually giving control to students a lot more. So I call this autonomous learning and self-directed learning. This is actually, I haven't built this game. I'm actually collaborating with them and helping them in the design, and also making sure that we can have a lot of input of how you sort of, balancing the needs of students and teachers together, and basically trying to move away from the very restrictive environment that LMSs like Canvas or Blackboard sort of provide us, by giving students more control of their own learning journey. So that's what we do with that one. I think this is my second last slide. Essentially, as I was saying, we do those games, but we also do all these different types of games and exercises, and you can see the students have a lot of fun, and the idea is really to give them this kind of diversity of experiences, and each of these are different challenges. This last image here is basically students playing the board game. This is an engineering class of 200 students, And we basically don't have infrastructure at the university to allow this, so we basically went to the canteen and played in the canteen. so that's how it is. Because 200 students, it's basically auditorium learning, and you cannot play board games in an auditorium. So that's why we moved that. I also think that lectures still have value, and you actually. Just to give you an idea, after people have played the board game, I basically asked them to do a debrief a week later, and the debrief is about 90 minutes long, but because they've had a lot of fun and engagement, they actually sit through the 90-minute lecture, and it's actually and have very interactive discussion. So I think lectures can be really made useful as well, and then of course doing a lot of different things. So I just like to say that don't just do things. I think you should really throw yourself into things and really sort of challenge the way we think about things. And I think for me this has been really a journey in learning not only how to design games, but also how to make sure that they're inclusive, because I see a lot of people, a lot of the gamers that I'm sort of meeting, they don't identify themselves as gamers. So how do you actually, and the first thing they say as soon as they see a game, I don't think I want to play a game. And then when they get into it, they're like, okay, this is actually not too bad. So that's also inclusiveness that we need to think about. And just the last slide, I'm actually building a new game on negotiations. This is our prototype testing happening at a cafe, and I think this one should be out later this summer. So thank you for your time.